Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you so much. If you're just joining today's partner session, we're delighted to have you. If you'd like to share where you are joining us from today in the chat, if you haven't already, just either your organization and location is awesome. I know a chunk of the folks on the call, but it's nice to see some new faces too. Ooh, from Jerusalem, nice. Hello. Excellent. And I think we can, Eileen, anything before we get started? Excellent. All right. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Rebecca Missel, and I am the Director of Partnerships and Operations at haggadah.com. I think I've had a chance to chat with most of you at some point or another, but it's really wonderful to sort of reconnect and sort of refresh for Passover 2021. That'll be sort of a theme as we kind of go into this. I've got my plants here with us today and just thinking all about how do we kind of make Passover 2021 exciting and fun. And, you know, I don't know if any of us could have predicted that we'd be back here again, but we are here and we are grateful to be here together. And I think that that's really what so much of this is about. So I will get us started. Hold on one second. All right, can everybody see this? I always, let me stop it 1 second. One day I will get the full screen version to cooperate when I need it to cooperate, but that's not today apparently. Okay, great. Okay, can everybody see? Great. So welcome to the haggadah.com partner session. I am excited to welcome you here. And just as a sort of refresh and reminder, haggadah.com invites every Jew, regardless of their background, to find a place for themselves in the Passover story so that they may create more meaningful, personal, and connective seders. This is a very quick sort of view of the site. We're going to dive into the website in just a few minutes, but if you've never been there before, this is a sort of image of what our site looks like and kind of gives you a sense of the different kinds of ways that you can mix and match images and text. And we are excited to be sharing hold on 1 second. I know that just, nope. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Okay, I got it. Great. To be building on our experiences of the Jewish holidays year round and really with this emphasis on at-home rituals. So many of you were with us during the high holidays and where we kind of put together Rosh Hashanah Seders and thought about Yom Kippur rituals and Sukkot activities. The picture on the right is from a Hanukkah celebration in the before times, but we did do some more on Hanukkah this year, and we are excited to be thinking more intentionally about year-round holiday celebrating. Both highholidaysathome.com and Haggadah are part of Custom and Craft Jewish Rituals, which is a design lab for the Jewish community, which I know many of you know, and that also, you know, we are a 501c3 like all of you, and community donations, whether from folks who are your members or organizations like yours, is really, you know, our single largest source of income. So here's a quick sort of preview of what we'll be doing together today. First, we'll go sort of through our organization's mission and team and introduce ourselves. We'll give you a quick tour of the haggadah.com website. Eileen will take us through a new project that we are designing to help organizations like yours raise money year round, really. It can be for any kind of targeted event or holiday or as a year-round engagement tool. We'll talk about becoming a featured partner, and then we'll go over any questions and next steps. So like I said earlier, Custom and Craft is a nonprofit design lab using art technology and new media to imagine new formats for engaging with ancient traditions. And can't think of a better, more beloved ancient tradition than the Passover Seder. And we are really deeply committed to this idea of a beautiful and welcoming Judaism where everybody can find a place for themselves in Jewish life. And we do that through our platforms. We reach an estimated 1 million people every year who make their own or download ready-made rituals and gatherings. And we also are constantly facilitating new product development. And I'll let Eileen say a quick word or two if she wants here.
Sure. We get a lot of questions about the difference between haggadah.com and Custom and Craft. Essentially, Custom and Craft launched as our testing ground for doing everything outside of Passover. And we developed a lot of content for other Jewish holidays. But what we realized along the way is that people know us as haggadah.com. And so even though we did high holidays and Shabbat and Hanukkah, really, we're open to DIY ritual for everything. What's exciting is that after Passover, we're going to be releasing some messaging about how all of that content that was on Custom and Craft is now going to be in haggadah.com. And we're going to be doing a lot of work around using the Seder as a model for at-home ritual for all types of events. So whenever you hear Custom and Craft, it's essentially the same organization as haggadah.com, just, a different brand that we had launched, but we're consolidating it. Great.
So with that, I'm going to pause sharing here and go into our site tour. And let's see here. Great. Great. So quick thumbs up. Can everybody see the haggadah.com homepage there? Yes, no? Okay, great. I see some heads nodding, so I'm going to take that as a yes. Excellent. So this is the page you'll see when you arrive on haggadah.com. One of the things that's changed a little bit this year is, and this won't be an issue so much for organizations like yours, but as you're working with, if you have members of your synagogue or people in your community, one of the things that we've changed is we now ask folks to sign in and create an account on the site in order to access everything on the site. And that just helps us with our user experience and to better be able to then follow up with those folks.
Yeah.
So when you arrive on the site, you'll have a few, go ahead.
People can still access your content through Google and through sharing on Facebook. It's only after they, like if you're reading the forward or many other sites, it's only after you've reached a certain number of pages that you'd have to log in.
Right. Great. So when somebody comes to the site, there's a few different ways to interact with it. You can scroll down and pick one of our featured haggadot. These are really, our most popular haggadot from both partner organizations and ones that we've created ourselves. This is our, I'll just sort of hover over it instead of clicking on it because it's a big, dense haggadah. But this is our favorites 2020. So as your organizations are uploading new content, we'll be putting all of those together in a favorites 2021 haggadah, and we would really encourage you to get that in by March 1st, if possible, so that we can make sure to include it and then market that 2021 favorites haggadah. So that is sort of the first way. And a lot of people do come to the site, download one of these ready-made, pre-curated haggadot and head out. And that's wonderful. We love that. That's one of our main purposes, is to kind of give folks that opportunity. The other main way to interact with the site is by making your own haggadah. And I'll kind of walk you through quickly sort of how this works. So when you click on that Make Your Own Haggadah link, it'll take you to this pop-up. I'm just going to say test partner haggadah for the purposes of our call today. You have a few different options for the template. First is a traditional, which is your pretty standard sort of conservadox version of the haggadah. and that will cover all of your bases. And there is a lot more text written out in Hebrew in that Haggadah. I think that's like the main difference, is that there's a lot more Hebrew in this one. The liberal version comes from our partners at Jewish Boston, and it's sort of in the Reform tradition. And most of the Hebrew, I think the only written Hebrew in there will be for like the core blessings, and then everything is transliterated. And the secular Haggadah is a compilation from different secular humanist Jewish organizations. And then finally, there's a blank one, which is great if you just want to start from scratch and add all of your own content, or if you're creating this as a supplement. A lot of folks will use the site if they wanted to, if they have a Haggadah that they love at home, but they want to sort of put together their top 10 favorite pieces to add in. The blank template's a great place to start. I'm going to put us with the secular one today. You can invite collaborators, and this is a really big feature for organizations to be able to collaborate with each other. If you've got folks within, again, your community, or if you have a number of educators who all want to work on a Haggadah together, you can invite them to be contributors to this Haggadah. That said, if you are choosing the collaboration option, you'll need to make sure that the Haggadah is public. They won't be able to see it otherwise outside of your account. If you are just making a family Haggadah that you are going to be the only person working in, then you can select private. So you'll click next. Great. And this takes us to the edit screen. You'll know you're in edit mode when you see the word edit here in the URL. The other version, okay. The other version is the preview version, and you can toggle between those pretty quickly. It does sometimes take a minute to load, just because folks are, some of the Haggadot are a little bit bigger than others, have a little bit more content in there, and they'll take a little bit longer to load. So from the edit screen, you can change the title of your Haggadah. You can toggle back and forth between making it private or public. You can also fill out text for the cover. This is mainly something that we use as like a quick description of what this Haggadah is all about. You can also change the images. You can change this cover image. We recommend things that are in that sort of square or rectangular shape. So I'll just choose this one here. They should be less than 2 megabytes and either in one of these file formats. That's what we support. And you'll just click upload. And sometimes it takes a quick second. There we go. And there's the cover image. You can also change this background image to be either a pattern or to upload your own photo. We recommend, if you're going to have a featured photo here in the middle of it, then maybe keep the background simple. And then again, this is a place where you can edit and change things in your Haggadah. I think Rabbi Denise just joined us on the call, so perfect timing for us to be in the secular Haggadah template. And this is where you can really start to make the Haggadah your own. So in each of the sections, all the sections of the Haggadah are listed here on the left. And for each of those sections, you can move clips around. So let's say maybe I want this Passover blessing to come before this description of the Seder plate. And I can just move it that way by hitting the reorder button. I can take a clip out and I can add a clip in a couple of different ways. So if I want to insert a clip, let's do it in a section like so. In this Kadesh section, maybe I want a picture, and I can come here to add clip, select this, and I can select more than one if I want. I can also go to clips that I may have bookmarked or clips that people from the community have contributed. And I'll just hit add selected clips, and there's my clip in the Haggadah. You can also make a new clip. I'll show you real quick how to do that. If you go to my library, I find this is the easiest way to do it. This just takes a second. There we go. You'll go to new clip, and similarly to how you create a new Haggadah, You'll create a test clip, you know, a clip here, you'll give it a title. You can categorize it, which just makes it easier for folks to find as they are doing their own searches. So especially if you've created something for your organization that you really want to make sure they see, you'll want to categorize it. If there's a category that you're not seeing that you think is like one that will apply to a lot of different organizations and that a lot of people might want to know about, float it as an idea to us. We can always explore that. Since we're in the secular humanist haggadah, I will select that. And then you can select the section that it's going to be in. And then you'll create the clip. There's a couple of different options for your clip. You can just have text, and you can type in whatever you want there. You can add in an image, which will give you that similar pop-up to adding the cover image. You can add in music. For both the audio and video clips, you'll want to make sure you have the embed code, and you'll put the embed code here. We're able right now to support SoundCloud and Spotify links to embed those in the haggadah. And then a video clip, let me just go to YouTube real quick. If you have a page on YouTube that you want to upload from, let's drywall some containers, because who doesn't do that for Passover? So you will go down below. On YouTube, it's very straightforward. Just below the title of the video, you'll click share. On the left, you'll see embed. And YouTube makes it really easy. You just have to hit the word copy. You don't even have to worry about putting your cursor in there. You can just hit the word copy. It'll copy it to your clipboard. You'll come back here and you'll hit upload video. You'll paste that text into the embed code here, and you'll hit upload. And you'll know it works if there's like a little preview of the video above the line of the text. And then you'll want to make sure that you include the source of the clip here. So that could be YouTube drywall, which is unlikely to be anything anyone would actually do, but you never know. You'll hit save, and then it's always a good idea to test it by clicking on view. Then you can add that to your haggadah. So this is our test partner haggadah, and I'm going to put it in Yachatz and click here to view it in my haggadah. And it takes me right down to that section, and there's my video clip. Any questions before we go back to the other rest of the presentation? Can you do music, text, and image on the same page? So no, you can do a clip that has both music and text in it, or an image and text. And then you can have the next, if you want to have the image that goes along with that music on the next page. You can also, if you have a musical clip that has a thumbnail, that if you have control over that musical clip, then you can pull up that thumbnail and have it. Great question about downloading faster. So we always recommend downloading. If you are trying to use the site during the peak moments of a Passover Seder, no, the Jews did not crash Zoom during Passover 2020. However, and we do always, buy up more space on our servers in the days leading up to Passover, but it's always best to download. Yeah, some of the folks at your Seder may have slower Wi-Fi. It's just easier to have it that way. And we also always recommend, especially if you're leading a larger community Seder, to have those video clips ready as you're doing your Seder as well. So if you were going to show this drywall clip, to have it handy and pulled up so that in case, a glitch happened on your end, that you could just show people how to drywall real quick, because that is, again, super important for your Seder. Other questions? Great. Eileen, anything to add on using the site? Oh, you're muted. Hold on. In the meantime, I'll just show you to share. you'll go here to share things, and this will bring you up to the URL. You can just copy and paste this, open it in a new window, or share it on social. And then obviously you'll want to download. So you'll just click that button to download. You'll be prompted here to make a donation. We are a 501c3 and we appreciate that. You can also just click to download. If you're going to be using your Haggadah on video, we recommend doing it in portrait mode, where you can download either as a PDF or a Word document. And the Word document option is great if you're going to be doing any additional edits, or you want to like write in a few extra leader instructions and things like that. The Word document's always a great option. Okay.
Yeah, and I just wanted to jump in. The reason we say to download is our Haggadahs are actually loaded on each, they're created on each user's computer, so that it's basically so that our servers on the nights but leading up to Passover aren't totally overloaded trying to make thousands of Haggadahs at one time. Our code actually offloads that to the user's computer. So if you're leading a community Seder and someone in your community is having a slow computer or slow Wi-Fi, or they're just like, a lot of people just aren't as technically savvy because they never expected to be in these kinds of times. Sometimes problems come up. To tell you, a secret is like, our tech team basically stays up all night, the first night of Passover, to like be available for questions. So if you ever run into issues, we're always here. And we try to respond within, especially in the evening of Passover, we're checking constantly. But the best approach is to download the Haggadah as a backup. You can still view the interactive Haggadah on screen and lead your Seder with that, especially if you're like, say, sharing your screen on Zoom. But tell your congregants or your members to have their backup at home too.
Great. Okay. Awesome. So I'm going to take us back to our presentation. Hold on. Great. So one of the other things that we are offering to our partners this year is a menu of webinars that we're available to do for hire for organizations. And so the advantage of bringing us in is that we can customize within some of these concepts for you. So if there's more than one session that's really interesting, or if you want to sort of tweak it, we are able to do that. So the four main sort of areas that we'll be doing: one is something is sort of similar to what we talked about. What does it mean to have a Seder in 2021? Again, some of us may be just digital. There may be some people who are, God willing, all vaccinated and are able to get together because they live locally and are able to do it safely. And how do we host hybrid Seders? And sort of what are the rituals that we need now, especially in this moment of a second pandemic Passover? We're offering a session on breaking the Seder rules. I like to say this is sort of like the sequel. So, we followed all the rules in the first movie, and in the second movie, we're going to break all the rules. So this is especially great for second Seder fatigue, or having seventh night Seders, and other ways of really falling back in love with the Seder by embracing alternative structures. We're offering a session on liberated spaces at home. So this is thinking about spring cleaning from a more spiritual angle, and thinking about the rituals that we want to create to help us sort of clean and release and reflect on living in this whole new reality for an entire year. And what does it mean to have reached this moment, and to sort of think about it also as this moment of having been at home for a whole year, more or less. Then finally, we'll be doing a session on collaborative haggadot, and really thinking about more intentionally, not just, okay, here's the link, join me in making this Haggadah, but how do we truly collaborate together to make a Haggadah that feels communal and shared? I'm going to give it back over to Eileen to talk about our new fundraising technology and how our software is available for your organization. Oh no, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay, so we
Cool.
have done a lot of work this past year to think about how we can create more meaningful partnerships around the Jewish world and beyond. And one project is that we have essentially created the opportunity for other organizations to have versions of our technology to curate your own content, whether it's a Passover Haggadah or a Shabbat booklet, really any type of Jewish holiday or DIY ritual content. You can make it yourself. You can curate from our library. So this is an example because we love Jubelong and we love to collaborate with them. It's not a site that is currently in the works, but just an example to show you. This is essentially what it could look like for your organization. We could put your logo in there. We can change your colors. We can help you curate content. It's like a limited version of what haggadah.com or High Holidays at Home or Custom and Craft look like. So going to the next slide, what you'll see is our clip library, but this is just for Passover, curated by Jubelong. So we're showing all of our Jubelong's favorite clips that they've chosen. Jubelong also likes to work a lot with other organizations, so they might curate clips from, say, One Table or New Roots or Reboot or Saturday Night Seder and put them in there. And then once you get to the next slide where you see the Edit Haggadah page, so it's just like the Haggadahs that you see on our site, but anybody can edit it. So, on our site right now, we have curated Haggadahs that are content that that haggadah.com team has put together, and we have templates that we've put together that then users can choose to edit. Here is a template, the Haggadah that Jubelong has put together, but when users come and log on, they can edit the Jubelong Haggadah and make it their own. And so at any point in the Haggadah, they'll see a prompt to add their own clips. And then once they click that, they get to the next screen where you'll see the Edit Haggadah page. And so this is an example of, like, if I were making a Jubelong Seder for my Jewish friends, I'd love to put some photographs in there. That's a question that we get a lot, is like, can we put family photos in? Of course, you can on haggadah.com, but this is something that would be new for our friends at Jubelong. And then anytime I would click Add Clip, you'd get that same toolbar of options to add to your Haggadah, except that they're curated options. And so just like our sites on haggadah.com, we for these websites, we have our fundraising tools in there. So we want to work with organizations that see that there would be a minimum of $5,000 raised, because we first have to cover some of our technology expenses, and then we'd be sharing revenue with you and basically using our experience in building audiences for your particular website to help grow traffic for your community and to your particular content. And so, this is something that obviously for Passover, it's a little bit fast, but we just wanted to share this because we're excited about it, and, start thinking about it now. And then even after Passover, we can do this for all kinds of content. And what we're hoping is that the more of these that we do, the less our technology fees become, and the more that we can put to your community.
Great. So any questions about that piece before we jump into the next? All right. So what does it mean to be a featured partner? So this year we're doing things a little bit differently and trying to be a bit more intentional because we know Passover is going to come up really quickly this year. So there's a few different pieces. So first off, and I think by being on this call and by registering for this webinar, you've kind of already done step one, which is just to make sure that we have a name and an email from your organization as your primary team contact. That's really just helpful for us so that we can streamline our work. The next is to share content from your organization on our site. So again, like we said before, if you'd like to be included in the 2021 Favorites Haggadah, please send that to us by March 1st. And Passover starts March 27th, in case anybody doesn't have that also seared into their brain right now. So March 27th is our last day to upload content. And that's really just so that our team can spend that last week supporting users and sort of shifting our focus from the to that end user standpoint and answering any questions there. And the third piece, and this is really the most important, is that we hope you mobilize your community to enthusiastically use haggadah.com this Passover. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can host a webinar with us, and Eileen shared my chat, or shared my email, that we are available for these webinars. You can email me at rebecca@haggadah.com, and I'll share that again toward the end. You can create a haggadah on haggadah.com and share that with your community. If you are particularly for organizations like synagogues, federations, JCCs, and you know that a number of your members will be using this site, one really wonderful way that you can support them and us, particularly if there's members of your community who maybe have had some financial difficulties in the last year, is to make a contribution to us to underwrite their use of the site. And I think that's just a really lovely way for your organization to show how much you value people celebrating Passover in whatever way they want. And the last is to feature our resources and a link to haggadah.com on your website. I'll share some promotional language and some links to some of our favorite haggadahs after the call today, along with the recording of this call, and we'll share that with you. And we ask that you promote haggadah.com across your marketing channels at least 3 times between now and April 4th, which is the end of Passover. In exchange, we are able to provide data on how your content does on the site. If you are, we're happy to share the number of folks who come to the website, who are on our email list, and let you know those numbers, and to let you know how many people viewed your content and things like that. We love data, and we are improving our data efforts now and up through Passover, and so we're happy to share that back.
And I would just add, this year, we're asking for a more formal agreement between our partners, and obviously asking you to commit to promoting us. But we also, our hope is that we provide more promotion for you too, right? So we have a very large advertising budget. Well, not as large as we'd like.
It's not $1 million, but we do okay. Yeah.
It's not $1 million, but we take our advertising very seriously, and we're gonna bring eyes to your content, and we're going to promote it in our newsletter of 65,000 and growing. We're going to put it on our Facebook account, which gets really great engagement during Passover, and through our Facebook ads and through our Google advertising. So we do a lot to draw eyes to you. So we just want to make sure that we have the commitment that you're also going to be, exchanging that partnership with us as well. And, the idea is that we just get a lot more love for what both of our organizations are doing together through the work that we can do.
Great. So with that, I'm going to actually, just as a quick sort of next steps, and then we can actually hop back into questions. Again, you can email me at rebecca@haggadah.com, and I'll share that partnership agreement and the description of haggadah.com for you to share. And I'll put the webinar menu in the chat here if you want to get another look at that. With that, I'll stop sharing and open it up for any questions. Go ahead, Brian.
It's an amazing resource. Great to see you guys. We used it in a crisis last year for our second night Seder. Thank you. Want to build on it. But I want to ask you, because I might be confused. It sounds like there's 2 different things. One is the kind of a long-term partnership fundraising model, but here's how you can be a partner and help us this Passover, or are they the same? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Yes. So, yes. Yeah, they are options. Yes, we know that a long-term partnership is not for everybody. There's lots of different kinds of organizations on this call today. Individual synagogues, national organizations, local folks. So that's just a thing that we do offer. Also, we know that some of our partners produce more content than others. So I think Jubelong is such a great example because they have a tremendous amount of internally generated content that is specific to holidays. Other folks, I'll pick on Mayim Chaim, has amazing content, but it's really, really specific to mikvah, for example, right? So that may be a different use case kind of a situation. So, you know, but they're all wonderful organizations. And so, yeah, so the holiday, the Passover partnership work is separate from the more formal website work. Yes. Wendy.
I'd be curious just to hear a little more details about the content of the webinars you're offering to synagogues. Our synagogue, for example, had one of your programs last year. So
Right.
what would build on that to really reflect this year?
Great question. So I would say really what we're kind of rooted in the idea that we are, right, so for synagogues, we'll be kind of building on what we did last year, which was really sort of centered on the idea of bringing purpose into your Seder and doing it with intention. And I think that that's really at the root of kind of all of our work this year is the sort of tagline one of our advisors came up with, which is last year we scrambled, this year we have time, right? So last year, a lot of our webinars were frankly half Passover, half Zoom tutorial, you know, and while we still can't guarantee that people won't accidentally put cat filters on their faces during major legal proceedings, we do figure that most people have a pretty general concept of how to use Zoom by now. So we'll be doing a little less of the technical bits and a lot more of the deep intention setting and purpose connecting, because we know also that like people are exhausted, right? Like nobody thought we'd still be here this year, right? I mean, I certainly didn't. And so how do we, in this moment, and especially also knowing that Passover's early this year, which I think it's going to sneak up on a lot of folks. So in the midst of all these other things, you know, Zoom schools and trying to figure out when we're going to get our vaccines and all of these other very, you know, important but mundane things, how do we kind of elevate ourselves into that spiritual space to get ready for Passover? And so a lot of the workshops are really, you know, and so they'll take different tones, whether it's just about the Seder or it's about sort of playing with the Seder structure or about the physical space of everything and the spiritual space. What is it really, all coming back to this idea of what does it mean to really start this new year in that way? Charlie, you had a question. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Eileen, and then, or whichever.
Oh, I just wanted to add to that. There's a saying that, you know, I really love where it's like, this is, I'm not going to do it justice, so I'll just paraphrase, but there's going to be a feeling like here we are doing it again, but we're not the same people we were last year. Things are so different. And I can also say from an organizational standpoint, if I can just fell a little bit about Rebecca, you know, Rebecca joined us just about 6 weeks before Passover last year. And her role in how she leads the workshops is very different. You know, our workshops last year were very technically oriented, and Rebecca brings a very strong skill of creating space for community and sharing and vulnerability. So, and it's been wonderful to see her lead some of the workshops, especially this past fall. Yes, lots of love.
Thank you.
I would say that we're happy to come in, not just to be the technical how to do this, but to help you have a space where we can make your community feel supported and good and sharing stories and being creative together.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Charlie.
Yes. So my question has to do with the fact that a lot of our Seders are going to be via Zoom this year. And so to enable that, to help that along, haggadah.com, almost like, because it's like it's almost like a PowerPoint presentation, right? That you can share, that you can share, that you can share. There isn't anything specific on haggadah.com that we could bring in, because a lot of the conversation on Zoom, especially for a communal Seder, is actually happening in the chat, right? Which is separate from, and I didn't know if there were ideas or thoughts or ways that whether use, I mean, because you can just put a question up on, the haggadah.com screen and ask people to chat. But if you're the one sharing your screen, it's really hard to actually view the chat box at the same time. And at least I've had that experience. And so is that going to be built into some of the workshops of thinking about like that level of interaction? How best practices, how do we do that, as well as specific prompts? Like, not only is the content important, sometimes what we need is to ask the right question.
Yeah. So I think what I'm hearing you ask, and so I'll just sort of like do one of these things to clarify, is sort of how to balance the engagement with the shared experience at the same time. Yeah, the first best thing I can always recommend is, and this is why Eileen and I do a lot of these together, is to have a second person to help you facilitate, to do that chat management, make them a host so that they can see everything and have that chat management while you're sharing your screen, because you're absolutely right. Even technically none of us can actually multitask, and it is really, really tough to do that. So that's like an extremely technical answer to that question. I think from a bigger picture thing, I think there's a couple of different ways. So one is you could absolutely design clips in your community Haggadah. And I don't know if we've seen people do this because I think last year nobody was really thinking about this yet. So it could be a really cool test case this year to design clips in your Haggadah that are designed for questions. I would also, and to have, to put the text in there, and to also invite breakout rooms and to build breakout rooms into the structure of your Seder for that. And you can always pre-assign them if you know that there's like, and larger, Valerie, I see you, give me just 2 seconds. If you've got folks that know each other and like a Havara model-y type of a thing, pre-assign those breakout rooms so that they can be around the table together for a portion. Maybe, there's good design 7th inning stretches throughout the Seder. Valerie.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest using a site like Mentee to do, like, you can do polling and have people write in things, which could be like a good way. And I wonder if one of the features on haggadah.com would allow you to integrate the like polling function. Yeah, I don't know if that is up there. You're nodding, so that's great.
We don't have it, but that's a great idea, and I think we can do that. Essentially, what we'd be doing is embedding figuring out how we get that embed code from the poll, putting that into our clips. I can't guarantee it, but that's a fantastic idea, and I'll see if we can get that in.
There's also an organization that we've been talking to called Yachad, that they're based out of Europe, and the right now they don't offer you. We'll have some of our Haggadot on there. I don't know if they offer those types of breakout interactivity pieces, but they'll do your like Zoom hosting and all of that. And what they also offer is the synchronicity, so that everybody sees the Haggadah page together and people don't like flip ahead. I'm a flipper aheader. So like personally, I love a flip ahead. Love a picture section in a book that I can look at, love some announcements I can read during any kind of service, but that's me. Other people, I think, like to be held in that moment of synchronous space. So I think it's like everything now, it's a both and similarly to how we all, facilitated things in person in the before times, I think, you want to hit folks at different modalities now too.
One thing that I'll add also is it might be worthwhile for you to look at some of our recordings on our, I think it's on our blog, of our home altar making workshop for for Rosh Hashanah. Because some of that we're going to pull it into our liberating spaces workshop. There's
I'll put it
you
in
know,
the
we
chat.
talk so much. Yeah, there's so much that happens like on Zoom, right? And you know, we moved from in person to on Zoom. And what we found during the high holidays is we wanted people to still feel like that a place in their home was a sacred space, right? And so whether that means that the plate, you know, decorating or designing the space that you're at when you go to services, or creating, you know, like a table where you can have family heirlooms and apples and honey and pomegranates. You know, let's think about how we also remind ourselves that we have bodies that are in our homes too, and not just eyes on Zoom. So check that out. And if that sort of resonates with you, then our Liberated Spaces workshop might be a good option to bring to your community.
I'm looking for that recording while we talk.
You know, also because it's so great that you're here, and I love this suggestion for polling. You know, since you are here, you're a perfect group of people to make suggestions on what else you'd like us to do or offer over the next, you know, over the season. I can't promise that we'll be able to do it, but I do love hearing what you need.
I couldn't find it.
And I'm also just curious if there are just general themes that you're dealing with, or issues that your community members are facing that are different from last year, or, you know, to be perfectly, yeah, Wendy.
No, go ahead and finish what you were going to say.
Oh, I was going to say, to be perfectly honest, you know, we're feeling that fatigue. Like, we're feeling that a lot of people are tired. And for us, a lot of our messaging is around like how to still nourish ourselves during this season, and like how to not just make this holiday like a throwaway because we're so exhausted. And so anything that you provide from your organizations that you want to share, we will definitely be heavily promoting that. I think anything that like helps us get through this and feel good and still feel like we can connect with each other is what we're really going for.
Yeah. Brian?
I mean, I don't know the interest out there. I can tell you that it's such an amazing tool. I mean, I really want you to know that it's not just that it saved us last year, but others could create the template, but you set up a template for Jewish creativity. You know, our challenge, of course, is the majority of our members are just overwhelmed. So they'll get the haggadah, they'll do, but we may do a workshop, hey, create your own, but most of them won't go that leap. So I can tell you that for us, just to give you a sense of how we're using it, I don't know if others will pick up on it. In our confirmation class, they're all supposed to create Jewish projects exploring their identity. Well, because almost everything is virtual, they're just not doing it. So we're going to say to the confirmation class, you have to create your own haggadah for your family this year. It's a concrete thing. But I think that's a great example of it. It took me months to go, how can I I could just say to all my members, create haggadah, and they'll say, yes, we're going to find out how many of them do it for their first night. But I don't know. I know education is a tricky business and resources and cost, but that's an example of what we're doing. Since they are ignoring me every week when I say, you have a confirmation project, now I'm going to switch around and say, if you haven't done one, you're going to go on, because I know that age group, 10th graders, will look at your template and get it right away. Whereas seniors are going to jump out the window if I say, create your own haggadah. So.
Wendy, yeah.
Finish your answer.
I was just going to say, yes to all that. And I will say we've been consistently amazed at the age range of folks who love and use our site. I will say that there are lots of people who are, I'll be generous and say 50 plus, who have a fairly easy time with it. And we have 80-year-olds who use the site too. One thing that you can think about for your congregants is maybe making a synagogue haggadah and then saying, here's links to like our top 10 favorite things that you may want to add to yours to customize it, right? Like give them a template that they can use and then do a little of that sort of pulling out for them so that they're maybe a little less overwhelmed, because there is, look, there's a lot on there, and it's a strength, and it's also sometimes a daunting for folks. So if if there's certain things that, sometimes just doing a quick search for them and handing them the search, or doing like an image search is great, or just honestly going in. And that's why the favorites haggadah, or saying, here's the 2021 favorites, or here's the 2020 favorites, and saying, these are the ones that we know are most popular or that are most loved. Feel free to throw those in. If you're looking for like a little customization flavor, here's a way to do that. Yeah, Wendy.
Okay, now, 2 questions. One is, are you going to be offering webinars or seminars for individuals as opposed to for the general public as opposed to for congregations? And
For like individual organizations versus public
No, I
people, or
just
like
wanted to
one
sign up as a
person?
person.
Yes, we are offering public facing webinars as well.
Okay, and my other question was, one of the things I heard people already expressing an interest in, despite the fatigue, is a heightened focus on racial justice for this year's haggadah, and didn't know what, if anything, you'd be doing with that.
Great question. We will be continuing to reach out to, we do work with a number of different organizations that are focused on that. I will venture to guess that Kate from the URJ probably also will be a good link for us on those things, not to put her on the spot, but I know that the URJ, it's my former employer, and I know that they do a lot of amazing work in that realm. So I'll venture a guess from them that there'll probably be some content, and that if you see anything, thank you, Kate, that you love, if you, as in your work as volunteers and professionals, encounter amazing pieces centered on racial justice, send those our way, because sometimes, we try to keep a lookout for lots of things, but obviously it's a huge world out there. And if you see something, then we can either upload it directly or connect with the creators and make sure that that gets on there. And yes, we have a Black Lives Matter haggadah. We do have a few pieces for racial justice already on there, but you're absolutely right. I do think it will be more of a focal point, in this coming year. Thank you, Kate.
Mm-hmm. And also, I think one thing that we've really learned is that like the organizations that are most involved in racial justice work right now are super taxed. And so I think what we can do is, there were some great resources that came out this summer, and we can contextualize those resources within Passover. We had a great Juneteenth haggadah that was shared by a group of Jews of color. And while obviously it's not the same holiday, like we highlighted over the summer, and I think we should highlight it again before Passover.
Great.
That'd be great. Thank you all.
Absolutely. It is super important. Yeah.
And simpler, maybe not so simple question, in terms of adding new material, like copyright stuff, like how do y'all deal with and manage that? Like because I might use something that I love and I want to put it up on the site and have my synagogue be able to use it, but it's a quote from somebody, or it's a modified quote from someone that's really their words and I give them credit, but it's, how does that work?
I feel like, look, our general copyright policy is that everything, when you share on our site, you agree to our terms of use. And you can find those on our site in our footer. And you also click an agreement when you sign up. Basically what you're saying when you join our site is that you have the authority to be able to upload this content. It's not somebody else's copyright. And by you uploading it, you're giving other people permission under Creative Commons licensing to share it for educational purposes, as long as they are not, trying to make money off of your work.
Yeah.
obviously, like, let's be honest, there are people who do put copyrighted content on the site. We always try to notify that user to take it down. We know that people in their family haggadahs are going to take whatever they want. We'd ask that you just make that private. So if you want to take something that's copyrighted and distribute it to your community only, that will need to be private in your haggadah for your community. I mean, it's basically the same as you photocopying it for your community then.
I guess the question is really about more not knowing if it's copyrighted. It's the idea of not knowing if it's right. Like there's
yeah,
that, like I found a really
there's
cool,
different kinds of things. So I'll give it.
please.
I think a quote is different than a video, for example, right? Like I think with a quote, you're giving attribution. So let's say Rabbi Zimmerman said something really amazing and you want to include that in your Haggadah. I think if you're saying Rabbi Brian Zimmerman said blah, 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 blah in the Haggadah, and you can always give a link to his synagogue or something like that, I think that's different. I'll also say with videos, it's good to look on the site if you're looking to add videos, who uploaded the video. So I'll use her as an example because folks on this call know her, but Shira Klein, for example. So I have a relationship with Shira. Shira's like, please post our videos, you know, videos from Shir La La on the site. Great. So like they'll be up either under a Shir La La account or under the Haggadot account, which means that like Shira's given us her permission to use it. We have videos all the time from different makers and different art and things on there from those folks because either we've paid them or they've given their permission. Obviously that drywall video, for example, we don't have permission. I'm going to take that down, right? You know,
it's actually not an issue with copyright because we're not distributing it. What you're actually seeing is YouTube embedded on our site. So you're sharing something that when they put it on YouTube and they made it public, they agreed to those videos being embedded on sites that were not YouTube through YouTube's technology. So, but it really is a courtesy when you post a video. So for example, Shira Klein's videos, we prefer that it's posted under Shira Klein's account. And then you just kind of click add to your Haggadah rather than uploading something new and, you know, not putting her name in the title. And so people, you know, just always give the credit wherever possible, always like mention your sources. And that's really what it is when it comes back to copying from other Haggadahs, copying quotes. I think as long as you're doing it in good faith and copying your source, like being a good academic and keep, you know, like a good scholar, a rabbi, and making sure that we have our references covered. The worst that happens is that somebody might say, please take it down. I don't want to be a part of your Haggadah.
Yeah.
So my favorite readings from a different night, as long as I'm giving credit and saying and stressing where it comes from, I shouldn't have to worry. That was one thing that I was really nervous about.
I would say within reason. If you're copying a quote from a different night, I think that's fine. If you're copying 3 pages from a different night, I would contact them and ask their permission. Yeah.
That's exactly what I would have said. Yeah. Yeah. And you know, we do that, you know, that happens. And there's just, you know, certain things that people say and write that are really wonderful and that people want to capture. And yeah, I think it's context too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like if you were writing a paper, there's a certain amount that's appropriate to quote, and then there's a certain amount where you're just plagiarizing.
But you don't have to do APA style. We will not penalize you for you know, how you attribute anything on there. Any other questions? I'm gonna stop recording and thank everybody and can stay on for anything else that comes up.